wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to our channel. This is Khoisan Talks. Two ladies. I'm South African. My co-host is Namibian, and we are discussing Khoisan and our way of life. Tonight we'll be discussing the laws of Ma'at. If people are not familiar with the laws of Ma'at, there are 42 laws that was discovered in Egypt. And these 42 laws speak a lot on Khoisan and how we lived our life and what we did. So we will be discussing that tonight. Um, with me is my co-host, my beautiful co-host, Jessica. I will allow her to introduce herself.
Good day, everyone. I'm Jessica. I'm from Namibia. Thank you, Sabiha. You're too kind and you look beautiful as always tonight. Extra
Thank you.
beautiful.
Okay.
I'm from Namibia, and like she said, we are here tonight to talk about the Book of Mahat. And it's more about how our ancestors lived by these laws and how
Mm,
they obeyed it because everything was natural with them or with us. Everything is natural. So I'm going to give back to my co host to further enlighten us and then we will discuss it just like she said further. Thank you, Sabiha.
thank you, Jess. So, um, we've learned about those who are not familiar with the 42 laws of Ma'at. I'll just read an extract here that I have. The 42 laws of Ma'at are a set of divine transcribes by the ancient Egyptians in or around 2925 BCE, transcribed in hieroglyphics on a scroll called the papyrus, or the papyrus of Ani to be exact. The scroll was discovered in 1888 in Luxor, Egypt. And when I had a look at these laws, I thought to myself, these laws are exactly how Khoisan used to live. And how we did not have to have these laws written down. These laws were instilled in our communities from generation to generation, which made us quite a peaceful nation, a loving nation, a nation that was God conscious and God fearing. I myself am a Muslim, as I've said before. And a lot of the times, the laws of Ma'at reminds me of the laws that I get in the Quran. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, um, you shall not backstab, or so we'll just go through all those laws. And a lot of these laws are in most of we call them the Abrahamic religions, which is the biggest religions in Southern Africa. Most of us either practice Christianity or Islam, one of the two books. Yes, you get some who practice Judaism, but it is very few. But in essence, we we are people who follow the book, as we say, the book of God. We live by those laws. Those are the familiar laws to us. And so tonight we will be discussing some of them and how Khoisan lived during that time, how we lived the laws during that time. So I'll just get some of these laws or one of these laws that Ma'at talks about, and we'll discuss it and how Khoisan lived that before colonization, before our civilization was interrupted, if I can put it that way. So one of the laws of Ma'at is, I have not committed robbery or violence. And I think that's a big thing or was a big thing in our communities. When we look at our history, we were a peaceful tribe. There was no need to rob or steal or cheat because we lived in such abundance. I truly believe Africa is heaven. If you come to Africa, those who have come to Africa, especially Southern Africa, we are rich in agriculture, we are rich in flora and fauna, as well as cattle. So there was no need for us to steal or rob, firstly, but also it was um, something that still resonates inside of us. We will not steal, we will not uh, rob. I was thinking the other day about Khoisan and how we used to, the communities that we had, or the little uh, villages that we had, the communities that we had, and how jail was a foreign concept to us. There was no need for a jail. Even during when Egypt was at its height, they had jails. They could imprison people because people broke the laws. But when the colonizers first came here, there was no structures where people were isolated because they had committed a crime against the community. And I think that speaks a lot about who we are and what we are and where we come from, where we lived those laws. Jess, what do you think?
Yes. Um, how I well, we could never rob or steal because everything was there.
Mm,
We had access to everything.
mm,
We had a lot of livestock.
mm,
We did our own planting, agriculture, so there was no need to steal. We spoke earlier about our housing.
mm,
For instance, we didn't had any yards, which was without there were no boundary walls.
mm,
So
mm,
we weren't. There was no reason to be curious what's in the next yard. Why is
mm,
this person? Why is there these walls up? What is inside there?
mm, mm, mm,
So there was no way that our people could steal because everything was up in the open. The good thing about our people is back then we were open. There were no secrets.
mm, mm,
There were no
mm,
secrets among our community. They had sit downs every time I can say for instance every week where they discussed the problems within the community. So there was no need to hide. So when the colonizers came and took over these things and make us aware, um, my sister, I want to say something about it crossed my mind today about how Adam and Eve got exposed. For
mm,
instance, we were we were naked people.
mm,
We didn't feel we didn't we there was no need for us to feel shy to be naked. So why I'm referring to Adam and Eve is they lived naked in Eden.
mm,
And I was thinking about the snake. Who is the snake?
mm, mm,
So I want to explain it like this. When they weren't aware of their nakedness because it wasn't a thing.
mm, mm,
It wasn't
mm,
a thing to be ashamed of.
mm, mm,
But when for me that's a story. If you really look into the story, when the snake came, misleaded one of them,
mm, mm,
to do this. I think within our community was also certain things that was kept from the men, kept certain things from the women. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
In what sense do you mean the men kept things from the women?
There were certain things that men discussed. They were hunter gatherers, yes.
Yes.
So when they go hunt, there's certain tactics that they use to go about. For instance, I don't know if I make sense,
No, no, I'm
but
listening. I'm listening to you explain.
yes.
Yes, I'm listening.
So they had meetings before they go for hunting because they usually what they did was they hunted in groups with young boys.
Yes. Yes.
They didn't hunt. Uh, let's say there's a group of, let's say it's 20 people.
Yes.
Then they would divide the groups in 5 groups, in 4 groups, for instance. And then those groups will go different. You go east, this one go west, this one go south, this one. So now they discuss these things. For me, it wasn't a thing for the women to know the detail of how they are going to go about hunting.
No, 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 no. That is not, no, no. Yes, absolutely. That is not part of our dialogue.
Mm, mm. Okay, so let me get back to what you asked me about. Um, so we were made aware of Adam and Eve were made aware of their nakedness, so that's where they began to sin. Back then, our colonizers came, made us aware of our surroundings. You could do that so that that one doesn't know.
Yes.
You could
So there's a
you could do
story.
that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Sorry, sorry.
yeah.
I
You
just want
can
to
do
elaborate
this.
on that because there's a story about a Khoisan leader that was kidnapped and taken to um, England. So they wanted to teach him the language, English, so that he could come back and negotiate with our tribes more, speaking their language and our language. And before he went over there, normally when they came with their ships, because we were a port to stop when they traveled to India and all these places, we were a port, a destination where they could get water and food. It wasn't like they just came one day and saw us and then they fought with us. We had trading relations with the colonizers before they decided to uh, take over or colonize us. And anyway, they take him over to England. He learns the language. But what he also discovers is that when we traded with them, we would give them a sheep and they would give us a piece of copper because we weren't really materialistic people. You know, we lived a simple life. We lived off the land and for the land. We lived off the land and for the people and for God. That was the Khoi way of life. And charity is part of who we are. So I believe, now this is not written in anything, this is just what my spirit tells me, that because we are charitable people, when these people came, we gave them and got little trinkets of copper or an ornament or something. But when they kidnapped one of our leaders and he saw what was happening in Europe, specifically England, he came back and he said to our people, their plan backfired on them. He came back and he said to our people, sheep and cattle, these people do not have. There is a scarcity for it, and what they sell it for in their country is so much more, the value is so much more than what they are giving us. So charge them more
mm,
because they wanted more all the time. A skirmish broke out between Bartolomeus Diaz that time, the Portuguese, and the Khoisan. We refer to it now as the first murder that was committed on our soil when they tried to forcibly. So what happened was Bartolomeus Diaz came, he was given the cattle, he was supposed to get on his ship and leave. That is not what he did. He came back, he raided one of our villages in Cape Town, and fighting broke out, skirmishes as they call it, and somebody was murdered. This was the first murder
mm,
committed on our soil. Because before then, Khoisan are not tribes that killed one another. We didn't have the need to fight for land or possession. If you come to Southern Africa, those who have been here, our land is vast and it is rich and abundant. I always tell people you can you can flick a seed anywhere in Southern Africa and it will sprout up and grow. So there was no need to fight or to for land or food. We had it in abundance. And so that was the first murder that was committed on our soil. This is from our oral history, the first murder that was committed on our soil. And so the robbery and the stealing started with them. This was a concept that was not, when I read or when I listen to Europeans talk about this particular event, they say maybe the Europeans didn't understand that you couldn't just go and take things. I thought to myself, how how do you not know you can't just go into somebody's or onto somebody's land and take his stuff away? You know, steal. How is that foreign to you? You know, so the robbery and the stealing was a concept that they brought over from Europe to Southern Africa. It was never a thing that we did. We lived to a peaceful life. Like I said, the laws of Ma'at, you do not rob and you do not steal. So it's interesting to me that um, we have been, or the Khoisan are the oldest in humanity, right? This we know for a fact, science proves it. The Khoisan are the first Homo sapiens, the first human, so to speak. And we already knew this long before Egypt came to be.
mm,
The Khoi already lived these laws. We
mm.
knew these because we had such a connection with God.
I want to ask Sabiha, the law of Mart, was it 42 or 43 laws?
According to me, it's 42 laws. According to my knowledge, it's
Mm.
42 laws. The 42 laws of Ma'at. And if you look at
So,
numerology, yes, yes,
so you were talking about the Quran earlier, and my
yes.
question is about the Bible,
Mm,
the Ten Commandments. Is it where
yes.
they get? Is it that? Is it the Ten of Commandments? Is it where they get their laws from? Is it from the Book of Mark?
Yes. So if you look at the laws, I wouldn't go so far as to say that they got it
Yeah,
from there,
yeah.
but it is awfully similar. The Ten Commandments and the the laws of the Quran, if you read the Ma'at, those laws are similar.
Hmm.
Yes. And
Yeah,
so,
I just wanted you to clarify that
yes,
because
yes,
you were talking about robbing and stealing and all that. So it's similar to what is in the Bible.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. So we believe in from the Quran. that we must believe in the Bible, we must believe in the Torah, we must believe in all the books of God, like they call it the Abrahamic religions. If you follow
Yes.
Islam, if you follow that path, then you have to believe in the books that came before, which is the Bible and the Quran. And this is another
Yes.
word, there's another word that is mentioned, which is the Injil. And all these religions comes thousands of years after us, where we already loved those laws. That is why we survived. The Khoi have
Mm.
always believed in the higher source. They used to call
Mm.
it the great one in the sky. We knew to
Yes.
ask in the sky to bless us.
Yes.
And we knew our sustenance came from the great one in the sky. And we knew that these laws, these commandments, the five pillars of Islam, all these things are was a way of life. Now in Islam we say Islam is not a religion, it is a way of life. And that is what Khoi is. It was a way of life to keep the community, the village, the people safe and protected. Not because we feared somebody's going to steal from us and you're going to land up in jail. Like I said,
Yeah.
jail
Yeah.
was not a
Yeah.
concept before we ever understood. There was no
Yes.
jails.
Yes.
Yes, there was no need to imprison anybody.
Yes.
Uh, and so we love those laws instinctively. The mother rears the children in that way of life. Where others who came after us, I always say, Jess, the rest of the melanated people, our
Mm.
skin folk, feels to me like our children because we are the start. Everything that
Yeah.
comes after us. So our children, I believe, when they left our shores, when they left Southern Africa, they had to hold on to something because now they are leaving the village, they are leaving the area. And so they take the laws with them and they write it
Mm.
down. Remember it.
Yes.
Yes. That is what I believe happened. Because Khoi loved the laws. And if we are the beginning, then surely we couldn't have gotten it from them. If we already loved this life long before the existence of
Before.
Egypt.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I saw a lot of posts somewhere, mostly on social media,
Mm,
about the Book of Mahat.
mm.
I might have missed something when you were talking, but I just want to ask, why do people, or not why do people, sorry. Um, I want to put this question, I want to make it clear. Why does it seem like this Book of Mahat is what you just explained to us now? Why do they think that this is a book originally from Egypt? Is it
Because,
because?
so as you know, Khoi history only relayed our history orally. So I wouldn't write things down and give it to you and say, okay, Jessica, this is how you must live. Me as a mother and you as a mother, whoever is a mother, when the child is born, you teach the child
Yes.
from small. Because the community love that life. That is just the natural progression when the child grows up. That is what the child sees. And so we have always we have always lived God's laws, the Khoi. And I've said this a couple of times that I have made the deduction that if we believe in the books, those of us that believe in the book, the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, the Injil, if we believe in these books, then we believe that Adam was the first man. Yes?
Yes.
Adam was the first man. If we look at science, where we come from, humanity, humans, people, then Khoisan is the first. Because we are not something different to Adam. We are not a separate creation from Adam. We are the same
Mm.
creation that came from Adam. And so if Adam was the first man and Khoi is the first Homo sapien, surely Adam must have been Khoi. And all the books say that God blew into Adam knowledge of himself, the way to live. And so all Adam's offspring, the Khoisan, had this intrinsically instilled inside of us how to live the way of life, the way of God. We predate all the other gods that ever existed, ever in this world, in this history. We predate all of them. And we believed in the one
Mm.
God.
Mm.
And we believed in the laws. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. We spoke about this earlier. It's very interesting.
Mm.
The Khoisan have never, has never, we do not believe in multiple marriages or having more than one wife. The Khoi
Polygamy.
have, the Khoi have always been practice monogamy.
Monogamy. Yes.
Multiple wives is a thing that our Bantu brothers and sisters do, but not
Mm.
Khoi. So we never committed adultery. We never coveted our neighbor's wife. Even today, we live in our communities, Jessica, and when these things happen, the female's reaction is not good when she hears that her husband wants another wife. She leaves, but she never stays. It's or the second one is a secret.
Mm.
She is never um,
Away.
aware or made legal, if I can put it that way.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
No authority in that marriage or in that
Yes.
relationship. The authority stays here. And
Mm.
if anything should happen, that wife will leave
Mm. Mm.
sooner than she will. Practice
So,
adultery.
what happened? What do you know? Or if I can say it this way, what do you think happened when this specific wife hears about her husband being unfaithful and outside of the marriage, and there's being adultery and there's children, or this man lived a double life without her knowing? Do you think, not do you think, but for me, it was usually the elders got together, and when it's found out, they discuss this with the couple that is involved. They would call, to my understanding, there was a similar case, it was in the early 80s, and we heard about it only in the late 90s. It was the specific man when he goes out. Our father figures used to work. Most of them used to work outside of the town where they were residing. So what happened was this man had a relationship with. This is now our people, our Khoisan people. He had a
So this is
relationship with a specific, with
1980s.
this in the early 80s. That's what I heard about. Around the 19s, we heard about it.
Right,
And
right.
he went outside of marriage. So it wasn't then in the in the same town as where his wife lived. But when they found out, it was like what I've heard was they made the decision, the elders, that you have to leave your wife. The wife was never the one who was supposed to leave the house. It was them. It was the men that was supposed to go from that specific.
We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulty. Um, Sorry, Jess, we seem to have been uh, experiencing some technical difficulties. I apologize about that. I don't know if people know, but in South Africa, we are struggling with something called load shedding, where our power is, we have power
Yeah, I think
outages.
if
Yeah.
I look at the time, we are starting a whole new video again.
No, no, no. It's still carrying on my side.
Oh, okay.
And so you were
Yeah,
saying
and
that during that time, the
yeah,
female male had to leave. But you see, this is late history. This is modern history.
hmm.
This is
Yeah,
modern
because I
history.
couldn't,
So we,
because how
and so
you
we,
explained it, how what you've explained now makes more sense. I wanted to tell you that's actually what I wanted to say. You've
mm,
explained it now so clearly to me because we were so misinformed. I think that was just a brush of answer or brush of s- story that we've been told.
yes. No, we the that is why I love this channel and that we have started this because nobody has ever heard a Khoisan talk about a Khoisan. We've never been able to tell our history.
Yes.
Telling our,
So,
like they say, history is written by the conqueror. And what the conqueror is going to tell you is not the truth. They're going to, like they said, this propaganda that they spun, deepest, darkest Africa. People with no civilization,
yes.
people with no
Yes.
understanding. When it was the exact opposite. They came here and did not understand that they shouldn't steal. It was the exact opposite. They came here with the barbaric beliefs and the sadistic mindsets. And when telling the story, it is the strangest thing to me. I always say, um, if gaslighting was a people, it would be them.
Mm.
Everything around. And so this is late Khoi history, 1980s, 70s, 60s. I'm talking about pre-colonial time, pre them setting foot on our shores. They've always before they came to Southern Africa, before they landed here, they had already interacted with the people in Egypt. They had already interacted with the people in Somalia. They had already interacted with the people on that side of the world. It is only by chance that they discovered here at the southern tip of Africa, here's a people that live in luxury. And that is what we have. We live a luxury life. Like I said, we are blessed, extremely blessed with fauna and flora and
Mm.
livestock. And so when
So
they
there's
came,
another
yes,
um there's a thing um you mentioned about before Egypt.
yes, yes,
We were talking about that.
yes.
How long back was it before Egypt?
We are um We are the Homo sapiens. We are the thing that started humanity. So science says maybe 300,000 years. That's how long we've
Mm.
been here. That is how we've evolved. We've been here for 300,000 years, Homo sapiens, which is the Khoi. And then afterwards, the rest of, um, because of migration, our people migrating, they inherited, or should I say, inhabited the rest of the world. But we predate them by hundreds of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. That is why I say the laws of Ma'at, that they found in Egypt, was the way of life of the Khoi, of the Khoisan.
Mm.
And we predate them, so we lived like that long before they their civilization even started.
Mm.
And sometimes when I think of it, I'm very proud. I'm very proud
Of
because
course.
as as you want your children to be better than you. You want your children to,
Yes.
yes, to soar. And they did soar when they left. They soared, but they also made big mistakes. Greed, eventually, I think. Um,
Mm.
Pride, ego. They had forgotten the ways of us. They had
Yes.
forgotten of their parents, which is us. And that is something that I also want to relate to the rest of the continent. That we are your beginning, yet you do not recognize it. We are your parents, yet you think of us as um, primitive, simple minded. We are the species that survived, that started humanity. And it is our DNA, it is our DNA that sparked life in Europe and in Asia. Because it is only when we interacted with them that their DNA changed.
Mm.
Then they became Homo sapiens like us. Before they were
Mm.
Mongoloid and Caucasoids. I can't always say that word very nicely. But they were primitive. They were primitive, living in caves. And but before our explosion into Africa, before all these pyramids were built and this we Khoisan knew about the great one in the sky. Khoisan knew how to navigate using the stars. We knew about celestial mapping. That is how we
Mm.
travel. We were hunter
Mm.
gatherers.
Mm.
It is just our way of,
Basically, how the stars aligned. They followed
yes,
that.
they followed that.
Yes.
They star mapping. They did star mapping. And the thing
Mm.
that you say about the way we were dressed, our women were normally bare chested, our bottoms were covered, men and women.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you can look at one another as sexual objects. You sent me a picture not too long ago of a um, European man standing with two African girls next to him, and they are bare
Yes.
chested, and his hand, as he's holding them, but his hands are on their breasts. And I thought how absolutely disgusting and vulgar.
Yes.
We that wasn't a it wasn't about sexuality or the sexual attraction or that primitive uh, need to see us as anything else than divine spirits.
Mm.
It was only seen as divinity and not some
Mm.
sexual. That is why we could live the way we live and nobody got hurt. There wasn't such a thing as rape. There wasn't such a thing as assault.
Mm.
If there was disagreements, the elders would talk, the men would talk. They would go into the bush and talk.
Mm.
There was no need for violence. We did not believe in violence. That is another law that my art has. But the Khoi loved it.
Mm.
Henceforth, no jail. No need for a jail.
Yes, yes. There were no borders as well.
No borders as well. As a matter of fact, um, as early as my mother's time, which is about 50 years ago, I was speaking to one of the guys, the only guy, like I've said numerous times in Constantia, that was allowed to keep his property. As you know, in Constantia, my tribe, specifically my people,
Yes,
were forced
yes, you said so.
from our land in Constantia. We've lived for thousands of years. We cultivated
Mm.
the land. And there was only one man that stayed. And um, when I asked him, Uncle, how did you manage? How did your family manage to survive? He said, when the Dutch came, the Europe, the Boers, we call them Boers, because after colonization, Queen Elizabeth II,
Yeah.
um, she made or she gave the Dutch the and his name was Verwoerd.
Mm.
She gave the it's like a prime minister. So it's not the queen ruling directly, but now we have a prime minister. And when apartheid came, that is when we were forcibly removed from our land. And
Yes.
uncle uncle said when the Boers came to evict them, his father said, "You kill me, you kill my children, you kill my wife, but we are not leaving."
Mm.
And those words and his actions always gave me such inspiration because his belief was so great. You can kill me, it's okay. I'm going to heaven, I'm going to my father, but I'm
Mm.
standing my you will not take my land. And he always talks about inshallah, hopefully I can get him on the channel soon. He
Yes.
always talks about how there was no border, how there were no fences. They used to walk through each other's property.
Mm.
And he said at that time, at the post office, which is next to his house, at the back was two police cells that was never occupied. During that time, I mean, this is recent history. Even
Mm.
then, our people were in harmony. There was no need for anybody to go to jail. This was in the 1940s, the 1950s, the 1960s. Still, Khoi lived in harmony with nature and with man. And so this is the laws of my art, coming back to the laws of my art. We loved the laws of my art. There was no need for us to write it down. Yes.
There's another question. Sorry, I have a lot of questions.
Questions are good.
Um,
Questions.
our 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 people, how did they live? How did they go about healing? How did they heal when someone got sick? When, um, for instance, yeah, when someone got sick or hurt, I I spoke to someone the other day, and I told you something earlier about when it's full moon. You were talking about celestial, about how they follow the stars at night when they need to go out into the
Hunting.
hunting and etc. Yes.
Mm.
So I learned way back about when it's full moon. Do you know
Mm.
when you want to deworm a child, you
Mm.
only do you can only do that during a full moon stage when it's full moon.
Mm.
Yes, I've tried it. I've tried it. a few years back on under normal circumstances. Not that full moon isn't normal, but then it was like nothing happened, because our parents believe that you have to deworm a child every 6 months.
Mm.
So, do you have any knowledge on how they go about when was there a specific type of medicine that they used to do the deworming, or was it a thing? Was it a thing that time among our
So,
people?
as you know, I am a healer. I use
Yes,
natural medicine, and
yes,
I also use um, ancient Khoisan techniques to heal people.
yes, yes,
My grandmother was a healer, and my grandfather's mother was also a healer. I come from a family of healers. When
yes,
with- when when I speak to people about my family, they will say, your family is the ones that healed and that prayed in the community. And so I have been blessed with that gift. And so has many in my family, my Khoisan family. We are predominantly either healers or do some type of prayer work we do.
yes.
And firstly, there was no diseases.
Mm,
Diseases is not something that, like, we didn't have outbreaks of smallpox
mm,
or, or malaria, or there was nothing like that. But how we did heal was using herbs, which we still do today, which I still do today. We used, which modern medicine uses today. Most of modern
mm,
medicine, the herb, the the plant or the chemical compound of the plant is from Southern Africa. Um, I have a book. If I'd known the topic would go this way, maybe I should start keeping everything close by. And we called it felt medicine or bush medicine. And it still helps up to today. We use things like owls. We use things like the olieblad for inflammation in the back. There's a lot of, but then again, we weren't sickly people. So it wasn't like
mm,
we needed, maybe you had a
mm.
stomach ache, maybe you had a headache, maybe you had a throat ache, you know? But it wasn't, I'm not saying we didn't, the calamities didn't come, but it wasn't
Yes,
in the scale we need vaccinations and shots, and there was no need. We lived a pure life. We lived a clean life. We
mm,
didn't eat a lot, and most of the time it is the way we prepare our food that also causes diseases. So Koi didn't eat a lot of meat. So there was the risk value was very low.
yes,
We ate from the earth, right? We knew which berries to pick to eat, which knew we knew what roots to eat. Grain is something that only came to Southern Africa 200 years ago. Before that, we never ate grains. We never ate wheat.
mm,
So all these things that cause inflammation in our bodies, we never ingested those things. So
yes,
there was deworming and all these different things. There are medicines if the child has problems with constipation
and so on.
and
Yes,
yeah. But it wasn't like we lived such a pure life that there was no need for such things. And the earth
mm,
that we come from also healed us.
yes.
Jessica, on that note, on that beautiful note of healing, Um, we are going to have to say goodbye for now. And thank you so much for this beautiful and insightful conversation. And I pray that when people hear us, that they understand us, maybe even come and visit us.
Yes,
Yes, yes. We are a very hospitable people.
yes,
If you want to know how what the way of life truly is, what the way of life truly is, come see, come visit us. We still live the way. If you want to say anything, Jess.
yeah. On the next topic, I think we can proceed with more on the Book of Mart.
Mm, mm. We can
There's
go through
still
the
a few, yes,
yes.
but we will and then we will tell you more about these books, about the laws, and then we can go in and elaborate on every law.
Mm. And
Yeah,
how Khoisan lived it.
yes, and how our Khoisan people lived it. And like my co-host Sabiha said, we have to say goodbye now to our beautiful viewers. Thank you for your time, and please like and subscribe and leave something for us in the comments. We want to know what you think. You are welcome to add or also to enlighten us if there's anything you want us to know. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
I'm
Thank you.
giving
The one
over
thing
to
about the
my
Khoi,
co-host. Yes,
thank you. The one thing about the Khoi is we
yes.
love talking, we love interacting,
Mm,
we love
mm,
knowledge as well. Mm, mm. So what my co-host Jason is absolutely right. Please feel free to comment, subscribe, give us a like if you like the video, share our videos, tell people about it.
thank you.
Poison
Thank you.
finally Poison is finally talking.
Thank you.
On that note, good night everybody and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jessica.
Good
Bye
night,
bye.
Sabiha. Bye.
Night.